cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I gotta give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
And best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go and roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves up.
Yo, what's up? Welcome to our Thursday edition of The Extra Point. I'm your host, Phil Ruskin. It is our DFS Underdog Higher Lower segment and, of course, our weekly picks. So we're going to get right into a couple of quick announcements, pay some bills, and then we will dive in on some of the picks that I like for Thursday Night Football, what we've got going on the main slate so far, of course, our DFS cash player pool, and then those weekly picks. So tomorrow night, y'all know what it is. We will be here for two parts, breaking down the entire slate of games. Make sure you jump in at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern with our boy Kendall and Classic Mike. They will be taking you through the first half of the slate, and then myself and Anthony, a.k.a. Rasta, we will be here at 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 Eastern time as we take you through the second half of the main slate. And then, of course, join Classic Mike on Sunday Live as he takes you through all of those active, inactives, Q&A, live Q&A, getting you ready for Sunday football. Let's dive in. I didn't do a show last week. I was I was sick. I'm still kind of carrying a little sickness, but I had too many picks to even review, to be honest with you. I had a little bit of time on my hands, so got a ton of picks in. Had a monster week. I had 17 picks. I went 14-3 in all of my props. So big week. Really excited about that. Got a little extra money this week to spend. So tonight, Thursday Night Football, man, it should be a good game. On paper, it's great. It is a massive game for the Bengals tonight. I think it's, I say this every week, but I feel like they're playing for their season. And Kendall and I were talking actually after the show last night. It's interesting because the Steelers have a really difficult game against the Commanders. And then I think they play the Ravens next week. So the Ravens could very quickly flip this division with a win tonight. And that would go a long way. And then, of course, the mini bye week getting ready for that Pittsburgh game. So I just can't move off of Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. It just seems like free money now that I say that. You know, he won't score a touchdown tonight, but he's getting there. He's getting there just about every single week. So it is an anytime touchdown. It is not a rushing touchdown. So give me the higher on a Derrick Henry anytime touchdown tonight. Like I said, he is RB1. He has been just unstoppable, a king. So I'll take the higher on that one. Lamar Jackson, 236.5 passing yards. It's an interesting couple of weeks here for Lamar Jackson. He's getting there. He's getting there just about every single week. So I struggle to see why this line is so low. Here's his last 5 weeks. Against Cincinnati, 348. Washington, 323. Tampa Bay, 281. Cleveland, 289. Denver, 280. So I think maybe the odds makers are thinking this game is just going to be a blowout and they're going to just give it to Derrick Henry. But 236.5 passing yards seems low. So I'm going to take the higher on that. Mark Andrews, is he back? I don't know. It looks like it. His usage has been still not great. His touchdown upside has been off the charts. It's been unbelievable. So Mark Andrews, 3.5 receptions tonight. And I'm going to take the higher on that. He has gotten there the last couple of weeks. So we'll take a 3.5 higher on Mr. Andrews. And on the other side of the ball, no T. Higgins, still listed as doubtful, which is silly because obviously he's not going to be playing tonight. I just want to check and see if he's actually been ruled out. But he has been, still listed as doubtful. That doesn't make any sense to me. So he's obviously not playing. He is inactive. Chase Brown in the backfield tonight, joined now by Khalil Herbert. So, I mean, if you're the Ravens, you're going to do everything you can to take away Jamar Chase. So that leaves Mike Gesicki, and Mike Gesicki on 52.5 receiving yards. I'm going to take the higher on that tonight. And the last couple of weeks, Gesicki has been more involved with the absence of T. Higgins. And he has, in the last 2 weeks, 73 and 100 receiving yards, respectively, on 8 targets and then 6 targets last week. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stick with Mr. Gesicki here, stay in the flames. It's tough with these AFC North games because they go both ways, right? You could see an absolute shootout tonight. You could see a 17-13. That's just sometimes how these games go. But I do think the Ravens are going to win the game. I think they're going to be up in the game, and I think Burrow's going to have to throw it. So give me Gesicki on the higher there at 52.5. So I'm not going to play in a tournament or in a cash game for Thursday night football tonight, to be honest with you. The lineups are just too expensive for the studs, and there's just no good punt plays. You could throw Rashad Bateman in there if you want to throw Tez Walker for a couple $100 in, sure, but you could easily be taking a 0 there. So tonight, the way that I want to play is with some of these lines on these higher or lower, rather than jump in on some of those cash and tournament pools. So it is Thursday. It is still early in the week, but there's 4 lines that I like really now for the main slate. Please keep in mind that there are some good lines right now. James Conner has a really, really low rushing line, 67.5 rushing yards, but he's trending as questionable. He did practice today, albeit in a limited fashion. So just there's certain lines that I do like that you need to keep yourself aware of. But again, it is early in the week, so things can change. But here's some lines that I think are too good to pass up right now. Russell Wilson, look, Russell Wilson's not great. We understand that. And at the end of the day, Russell Wilson is who he is. He's a bit of a weird dude. His best days are very clearly behind him. I have no idea where he's going to be playing football next year. But in the 2 games that he started, he has passed for 264 and 278 yards in each of those games. Russell Wilson's line right now on Underdog is 212 passing yards. So I'm taking the higher on that. It's a game environment that I like against the Commanders. So I don't understand. I think it's a misprice. But yeah, I'm going to take that. And that's already locked in. The Saints are all out of options, man. It is Alvin Kamara and then insert name here. Chris Olave meeting with an independent neurologist now with 2 straight concussions. Bub Means was placed on IR. Taysom Hill should factor into the game this week, but it's Alvin Kamara right now, man. And, no Rashid Shaheed, of course, out on IR. So give me Alvin Kamara at 4.5 receptions. I will take the higher on that. He's getting targets. Derek Carr, other than Baker Mayfield, is basically the NFL's check down king. So give me 4.5 receptions higher for Alvin Kamara. Kind of staying in that same light, the Bills' receiving core is banged up. Mark Cooper has not practiced all week. He did not practice again today. There's something going on with his wrist. It looks like Keon Coleman is trending, very, very trending towards being out this week. So it doesn't look likely that he's going to play. Curtis Samuel hasn't practiced. So it's kind of Khalil Shakir is the only name there in town. 55.5 receiving yards. I'm going to go ahead and take the higher on that game environment for the Bills. It is the Colts. There's, no one there that really, really bothers you. Kenny Moore is a good corner, but I think 55.5 is very reasonable line, especially with the amount of volume that we expect to see there. So Khalil Shakir on the higher on that one. And then the last line that I like is actually Drake May, 30.5 passing attempts. I'm going to take the higher on that one because they are letting, for all intents and purposes, the Patriots are letting Drake May throw the ball. They're losing a ton of games. And so in his 4 starts as the starting quarterback, 33 pass attempts against Houston, 37 against Jacksonville, 6 against the Jets, but he got the concussion, and then 41 passing attempts last week. So 30.5 passing attempts here against the Bears. The Bears have a good defense. It's the Patriots. They don't have a ton. I don't think it matters too much what the defense is really like because I expect the Patriots to be losing this game. So yeah, 30.5. Drake May's gotten there every week minus the Jets concussion week. So give me that 30.5 higher. And let's hope that Drake May stays hot and then they keep letting him throw the ball. Like I said earlier, there will be some lines that I like. James Conner has some really interesting lines right now. Evan Ingram has some interesting lines in Jacksonville there with Mac Jones as the quarterback. There's just Christian Kirk is out. Brian Thomas Jr., BTJ is probably going to play, but a little bit banged up, still carrying a questionable tag. Stay in line and keep in mind what's happening with the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey is expected back, but is he really going to play? Debo's been questionable all week. We know Brandon Ayuk is out. So I haven't taken any of those lines yet, which is why they're not included in the show doc tonight. But just pay attention throughout the week because there are some other games that I think are solid lines. And then I might, we'll see. Maybe I'll jump on Sunday Live with Mike and give you all a couple more lines that I like once we get pretty close to game time. But for now, let's switch gears out of the underdog higher or lower, and let's jump into some DFS game cash pool players. And let's start, of course, Mr. Bakes a lot. What up, homie? What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. NFL Casual, good to see you too. Appreciate y'all being here tonight. Let's jump into the quarterback position, and let's start at the top. It's hard for me this week with the really expensive quarterbacks. The game environments just aren't great, and they're really, really, really priced up. There are some awesome plays at running back and one or two really good plays at receiver. So I'm really inclined to spend down this week at quarterback. So my number one ranked quarterback this week, as far as who I'm looking at in the cash pool, it is Brock Purdy. And if you believe that Christian McCaffrey is going to be back, even in a limited fashion, and Debo, of course, plays, Tampa's defense can be awesome. They can be awful. I mean, that's really what they've been the last couple of weeks, is just incredibly inconsistent. Games on the road. We know Vita Vea is a run stuffer and the run defense is solid, but Brock Purdy has gotten there a ton this season as a QB1. And of course, George Kittle is tight end 1 right now on the season. So 6,500 for Brock Purdy. Really like that price tag. And obviously it's a solid opportunity with Christian McCaffrey back in the lineup for Purdy to have hopefully some good checkdowns. The other quarterbacks that I like right now, Sam Darnold. Sorry to the Jaguars fans, but I bashed him week after week, and I've been right week after week. They are 32nd in terms of total defense at defending the wide receiver position. Justin Jefferson, big spoiler alert. We're going to talk about him in a couple minutes. But Sam Darnold, I'm looking for a bounce back game, even though the Vikings have dropped 2 straight. You know, he's still been good. He's been there from a fantasy perspective. He's been solid. So at 6,200, Sam Darnold is in my cash pool. And these next 2 names are gross, but they're super cheap, and you're only going to need them to get about 10 to 12 points to 2x their salary, which allows you to pay up at some of these other positions. And I do think that's probably where my lean is this week. We'll see. The lineup I'll read you here at the end of the show does have one of these cheap options in it so that I can get some of the other studs at the skill positions into my lineup. But Cooper Rush, we know Dak Prescott is not going to be there this week. Obviously at 5,100, that's a significant salary savings. You know, it's 1,400 even off of Brock Purdy, but it's like $3,000 off of, the top guys, Jalen Hurts this week. So Cooper Rush at 5,100. Cooper Rush has been okay when he's filled in for Dak Prescott over the last, year or two. So it's not sexy by any means. I don't expect him to finish his QB1 on the slate, but the Cowboys, it's a home game for them. It's a division opponent against the Eagles. I expect the Eagles to win the game. And so I think that could be some good garbage time for Cooper Rush. But my number one play of the week right now, simply from a salary savings perspective, is Mac Jones at 4,400. It's about as stone cold minimum as you can possibly get for a player right now. The salary savings is going to absolutely allow you to get up to some of the big time running backs and the big time receivers. So it's not pretty. We haven't seen Mac Jones in a very long time. The Jaguars are not good, but again, the Vikings defense is legit, and there are ways that it can go wrong. And that's why I say the lineup I have, it does have Mac Jones in it. I still could change it, of course, before the weekend, but I only need 8 fantasy points from Mac Jones, to 2x the salary. And if he happens to throw 2 touchdowns, you're at a 3x right there. So Mac Jones at 4,400. So Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Cooper Rush, and Mac Jones, 4 guys that I am considering in my quarterback pool. At the running back position, I'm going to be honest, guys, it's really thin this week. It's really thin. There's, if you want to go with one of the Buccaneers, who do you go with, right? Like, do you go with Rachaad White? Do you go with Bucky Irving? Like, it's just, there's not great options. There's not a lot of guys, and the cheap punt plays don't look very good. There's obviously guys missing from the games this week because they're not on the main slate, right? So you have no Bengals tonight. You don't have Derrick Henry on this slate because he's playing tonight. You don't have, Achane playing on that Monday Night Football game. So it's hard right now. I only have 3 guys in there. At the top, it's Alvin Kamara. It's 8,100. There is nobody in New Orleans other than him. He should get everything. And in a game environment that, again, it's the Saints and the Falcons, a divisional game. There could be points in that game. So give me Alvin Kamara at 8,100 at the top of the running back pool. Breece Hall projects really well again this week, 7,600 for him. I think if you look at the trends since Mark Hackett was my assistant coach in college. Nathaniel Hackett, different Hackett, no relation. Neither one of them actually can hack it, so there you go. But Nathaniel Hackett, since that play calling duty has changed over, Breece's involvement has basically stayed the same. It's gone up a little bit, but Braylon Allen's has come way down. And that's something that, again, if you're chasing volume, nobody better. The Cardinals defense, not great. It's just not a great defense. And so I do think there has been a complete consolidation of targets to Breece Hall, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. When it comes to the Jets, it's really the only 3 guys they're getting involved. Obviously, Mike Williams is gone. Not that he was a tremendous factor, but at least it's just one less pass catcher. Allen Lazard is out. So give me Breece Hall at 7,600 in my running back pool this week. And then it's Aaron Jones at 6,700. Aaron Jones has been very good. The Jaguars are poor. If the game does get crazily out of hand, then it could be Aaron Jones salting it away, potentially Ty Chandler late on. I don't think that's how it goes. I think Aaron Jones gets the bulk of that work. So only 3 guys in the running back pool. And again, there's just not a great punt play. Stay in touch with the news, see if something happens with James Conner and he suddenly isn't available and ruled out. That makes Trey Benson really interesting. If you really want to punt DeMarcado, I would roll with Benson personally. But there's some interesting options there as well with some of the news that we're waiting on for injuries and practice reports. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, really 6 players here in the wide receiver pool. Let's start at the top. It's Justin Jefferson, 8,800. I know I got Schmitty here in the chat saying, I'm hoping for a big game from Jay Jettis. I need him for fantasy. Brother, we all do. And I think this is the week that, every week is a Justin Jefferson week, but I think if there's a week where you can hopefully safely plug him in there and he gets there, Jaguars are 32nd against the pass this year. JJ is clearly the guy at 8,800. It is expensive. He is the number 1 player on the slate, but I think it's worth it this week just from a target consolidation and touchdown upside. If you decide not to play Breece Hall, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. There's only 3 guys in New York that are getting targets right now. There's really only 3 guys that are even getting plays called for them. It's Garrett Wilson, it's Devontae Adams, and it's Breece. Garrett Wilson's at 7,200. Devontae is at 7,000. It's been this way for the last 2 weeks. Take your pick. Obviously, they both had touchdowns last week. Garrett Wilson, unbelievable. 3 one-handed catches, probably catch of the year. So I think for me, Garrett Wilson would be my preferred play in this game, but I don't have a problem if somebody wants to go to Adams at 7K. I talked about him earlier in my underdog higher or lower. I'm going to talk about him again. It's Khalil Shakir at 6K. And again, we're chasing volume. We're chasing targets. I just don't. I personally, I don't think anyone expects Keon Coleman to play, but I personally am now starting to fade Amari Cooper after not having practiced all week as well. So it looks like a really good opportunity for Khalil Shakir to get a ton of targets in this game. And at 6K, that's a really good price. And obviously, if there's a touchdown in there, he'll more than pay that salary off, if not double it. DeAndre Hopkins, 2 touchdowns last week. I mean, really good night for him. Looks like he's picking it up, certainly getting on a good rhythm with Patrick Mahomes. 5,300 seems like a misprice. I know it was the Monday Night Football game, so these prices usually come out right after that game, but they're usually set on Sundays prior to the Monday night game, which is why I believe he's priced this way. He's going to probably be in my lineup this week. I just don't see a way where 5,300 I can afford not to have him in there, especially if I need some salary savings by putting JJ in the lineup, even with a depressed quarterback group and some salary savings at the quarterback position. You're still going to, if you want to get some better receivers into your lineup, you're still going to need to go ahead and try to save somewhere. I love the upside for Hopkins. $5,300 is certainly worth it, in my opinion. The last player is not someone that I think a lot of people are thinking about, but it is a really interesting name. And it's again, pay attention to the practice reports. It's only Thursday. I think you need to pay attention to Ricky Pearsall. He's 4,400. Debo has a questionable tag. He was limited. I think he's going to play, but I don't know. We don't know what the health of Christian McCaffrey is. Is he going to come out and be vintage CMC and get everything? Is he going to be on a pitch count? And I'm not sure what that looks like yet. What we do know is that Georgia is the guy at the tight end position, and we know Brandon Ayuk is out for the year. So to me, Pearsall, again, at 4,400, you're just hoping for a couple of catches, and I certainly think he can get there. The strength of Tampa Bay has been their run defense and not their secondary. So if you're fading Debo, if you're fading CMC, if you're going to play Brock Purdy at 6,500 and you want some correlation in that game, Ricky Pearsall at 4,400, 27th the Buccaneers are against the pass, so not great. JJ, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Khalil Shakir, DeAndre Hopkins, and Ricky Pearsall are in my wide receiver cash pool. At tight end, there's 3 names that I think you all should consider, and one name that is going to be, if I can, is a plug and play for me. So let's start at the top. It's George Kittle at 6K. If you don't feel the love for Ricky Pearsall, if that's just not a direction you want to go, if CMC and Debo play, then it probably doesn't make Ricky Pearsall a super strong play. It is more of a cash punt play. But Kittle has been Purdy's favorite target. He's tight end 1. He is 6K on the season. 6K on the week and having a tremendous season. So really can't go wrong there. If you're trying to save a little bit, again, the same issue that we've had for a very long time in Tampa Bay, especially the last 2 or 3 weeks, there has been no wide receivers. Cade Otton has been freaking awesome. 5,500 for Cade Otton. Absolutely no problem if you want to go with Cade Otton this week in your lineup and maybe pay down elsewhere. He basically becomes a wide receiver for you if you do so. But he's been great. He's been one of the best targets for Baker. And again, we don't believe that Mike Evans is going to be ready until after the bye week. We know Chris Godwin is out. And the real caveat to all of this is Sterling Shepard and Jalen McMillan didn't practice at all yet this week. So even though the Buccaneers don't have their top 2 wide receivers, they may not even have their backup wide receivers. So Cade Otton is a really, really strong candidate to be in the lineup this week at 5,500. At 5,300, it's Evan Ingram. No Gabe Davis. It's not looking like Gabe Davis will be available. Not that really matters a ton. We know Christian Kirk is out, so it's BTJ and Evan Ingram as far as the pass catchers for Jacksonville go. And if we believe that the Vikings are going to roll, and I think that they will and should, that means that they're going to have to throw to catch up with Mac Jones. So give me Evan Ingram at 5,300 in the cash pool. But the player that I'm leaning towards the most right now is Taysom Hill. It is a $4,000 price tag at the tight end. He's probably the best quote-unquote punt play. Look, the floor for Taysom Hill is a 0. He can absolutely get you a 0. There's just nobody this week that I believe is going to fill in with Kamara, so it has to be Taysom Hill. And so at $4,000, we know what he's capable of with his ceiling performances. He can pass for touchdowns. He can rush for touchdowns. He can throw touchdowns. So he can catch the ball as a true tight end. So the ceiling for him is 32 points, right? Like we've seen games like that from him. we've also seen people play Taysom Hill and get 2 points. So it's volatile. I'm not saying it's the strongest play, but it's volatile. I think it is a stronger play this week because of the injuries. And it's again, it's a divisional game. So I think Taysom Hill's probably a lock in my lineup because of the salary savings versus some of these other guys. I'll be honest, Cade Otton is going to be hard to get away from. So it'll come down to Sunday morning and how some of the practice reports go. But Taysom Hill's in my lineup as of right now. Let's talk about 3 quick defenses. Look, the Bears defense is good. They've not winning a ton of. I mean, they're kind of all right as a team right now. They're sort of figuring themselves out. But at 3K, I like that price tag. You're looking for a couple sacks, maybe an interception, and they're playing the Patriots. So as much as I told you Drake May is going to throw it a ton of times, he's turned it over. The Patriots aren't great. So I think it's a game where the Bears can potentially be one of the big defenses of the week. The Titans defense has been okay as well. 2,700. I'm looking for a punt play. It's the Chargers. They're not a huge high scoring volume offense. And then if you really, really want to go to the bottom of the barrel, the Patriots at 2,500. Caleb's not been a star. He's been okay. He's turned it over. They're giving up sacks. So at 2,500, the Patriots are a good punt play option for me as well. So I just gave you a ton of names. And as I always do, I like to at least read off a lineup right now that I think, that I know you can get guys into, but I think this is a strong lineup this week. Mac Jones at 4,400. James Conner, who I didn't write up, but I did say is a very strong play. He did practice in a limited fashion today, but he's 6,500. The Jets defense it's very inconsistent, but the game's in Arizona. So he's in there. Alvin Kamara is just too strong of a play not to have him in at 8,100. I have DeAndre Hopkins at 5,300, Justin Jefferson at 8,800, Khalil Shakir at 6K. I have Taysom Hill at $4,000, which doesn't give me a ton of room. So I do have Ricky Pearsall in the lineup right now at 4,400, and then the Patriots defense at 2,500. So that's the pool of players, that's the lineup that I've created as of right now to start the week out of the pool of players that I've given you. And again, just pay attention to practice reports. It might change, but I think those are some optional or some options and some lineups that can actually get you there. Quick question in the chat from IDK. Appreciate you being here, brother. Would you rather start Cade Otton or Jake Ferguson? I love Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson was on my league winner show at the beginning of the season. That was 10 weeks ago. It's Cade Otton for me. Baker's the quarterback. There's no wide receivers at all. Now we're seeing that Shepard and McMillan have been injured all week. So Cade Otton's a really, really strong play in your managed leagues. And as much as I think Cooper Rush in a DFS format could be great just from a cash perspective in a betting market, I don't know that I really want Cooper Rush throwing the ball to Jake Ferguson in my managed leagues. I'd much rather have Baker with Cade Otton. So give me Cade Otton, and I hope you start him. I think you should start him, and you just hoping he has another one of those monster weeks and 2 touchdowns go his way, and it's very reasonable that it could happen. We have in our weekly picks 14 games this week. The Packers, Seahawks, Raiders, and Browns are all on a bye. We start tonight here in about 45 minutes with the Bengals at the Ravens. Give me the Ravens in this game and give me 11 confidence points. I think this is a massive week for the Ravens to take a big step towards catching up to the Steelers. They're only 1 game behind, but they get the mini bye into next week. So give me the Ravens at home for 11. I saw a meme. You've all seen this meme, I would assume, but the Giants at the Panthers, and the meme was basically that this is the worst thing to happen to Germany and the payback for Germany for World War II, which I thought was pretty funny. This game's atrocious. It's atrocious, and it will sell out, which is crazy to me. I was actually traveling back from the East Coast a couple of months ago. I was talking to a guy from Germany on the plane. And then, I said, what do you think of our NFL? And he said, I went to the, Munich game last year. He said it was like a European soccer match. People were just so excited. They were outside for hours. It sold out in it was like a concert, right? It sold out in 10 minutes. They love it. It's a shame the product is poor. So give me the Panthers in this game over the Giants. I'm going to take the Panthers. I mean, who knows? It's just I just don't trust Daniel Jones. I don't trust the Giants. I don't trust the Panthers either. But give me the Panthers in Germany for 1 confident point. Patriots at the Bears. I could see this game going one of two ways. It could be your Bears could blow them out. I don't think that's the way it goes. I think this is probably a 17-13 game, 17-16 game. I do think the Bears win it. I think the Bears are the better team, and I have them for 6 confidence points here at home in Chicago. The next game that we have on the slate is the 49ers, my 49ers, at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll be honest, if there was some better wide receivers in this game, this is a trap game for the Niners going all the way to the East Coast. This is that kind of game where historically they've not done well. I don't care what CMC's health is. I do think he's going to play. And so for me, I think that is a massive boost. The betting market has the Niners as 6.5-point favorite. So the betting market not only assumes that Christian McCaffrey is going to play, but they assume that he's healthy. I think the Niners win this game. We talked about it a couple times. No wide receivers. Shepard and McMillan possibly also out. So you're going to lean on, Rashad White, Bucky Irving, and Kate Otten. And I think the Niners defense can take care of that without anybody on the outside to truly cover. Give me the Niners for 10 confidence points. Broncos at the Chiefs. Chiefs have to lose sometime, right? But I don't think it's this week. At home, divisional matchup. Chiefs defense is really good. Chris Jones is an absolute game wrecker, man. He's just an absolute handful. So give me the Chiefs at home, 13 confidence points. The Bills at the Colts. Flacco just let us down last week. He's been so good. The weeks that he's filled in for Richardson, from a fantasy perspective, he's throwing it 5 million times a game. He's putting up numbers. And that game against the Vikings was atrocious on Monday Night Football. So I think the Bills, even with some questionable wide receivers, they still have James Cook. They still have Ray Davis. Khalil Shakir's healthy. Dalton Kincaid's in the mix. And, of course, Josh Allen. So give me the Bills at Indianapolis for 12 confidence points. Steelers travel down to Washington to take on the Commanders. Mike Tomlin's my favorite coach in the league. I don't know if you're a player, how you don't want to play for Mike Tomlin. He's just awesome. The Commanders are great, 7-2 right now. They're just looking really good. Jaden is QB3 on the season. I don't know who wins. I think I have the Commanders winning the game. I could see it going either way. So I have the Commanders for only 2 confidence points because I certainly could see the Steelers going and winning this game. But it is the Commanders. I give them a little bit of an edge being at home. The Vikings at the Jaguars. Vikings are winning the game, 14 points. Let's move on. Falcons at the Saints, NFC South matchup. The Falcons have been up and down. Drake London is questionable. He's kind of in and out this week. The Saints are really banged up. They have an interim head coach. So I think the Falcons win this game, 5 confidence points. And I think the Falcons should, if they win this game, we'll see what happens with the Bucs. But I think they should go on to win this division and get to the playoffs. Titans at the Chargers. Probably not the most exciting game on paper this week. Tony Pollard, they're talking about potentially limiting his reps. It's a game that the Chargers probably win. I'm not super confident because it is the Chargers. They find new and creative ways to lose all the time. But give me the Chargers at home for 3 confidence points. The Jets at the Cardinals. This is my upset pick of the week. I don't trust the Jets, and I know that they won last week, and what a game that was. But I just don't trust them. I don't really trust the Cardinals either. But the Cardinals being at home, I'm going to take the Cardinals in this one. You got to have an upset pick. Can't take chalk every single time. So I'm going to take the Cardinals for 4. Eagles at the Cowboys. Eagles, 8 confidence points. I want nothing to do with the Cowboys, especially with no Dak Prescott. You got Cooper Rush in there this week. Eagles should win this game. The Lions at the Texans is obviously what we hope is going to be the best game of the week. I think this could be a trap game for the Lions. I really do. I have the Lions winning it right now, and I have them for 7 confidence points. And you're going to say, Phil, how could you have them in kind of a middle of your tier if you think it's a trap game? I don't know if Nico plays. And if Nico doesn't play, if you've watched, CJ Stroud has not been great. I think he really needs Nico. I think they need Nico back in a big way. Obviously, we know Diggs isn't going to play, which leaves Tank, and you've got Mixon in there. The Texans' defense is solid. We got to see what Will Anderson Jr.'s status is because he's a massive part of that defense. And obviously no Hutch for the Lions, but the Lions are hot. They went to Green Bay and rolled last week. So I know it's a tough game on paper. I know it's a difficult, nationally televised Sunday Night Football game. Texans are bringing out the Battle Red jerseys. They're going to be fired up. But if Nico doesn't, I could potentially still change this pick. But if Nico doesn't play, I feel okay with that 7 confidence points attached to the Lions. Dolphins will travel across the country to take on the Los Angeles Rams. I think the Rams win the game. I have them for 9 confidence points. I know that 2 is back, but the Dolphins just still seem broken. They had a tough game, of course, against the Bills last week. Now they got to go all the way across the country for Monday Night Football. Give me the Rams at home for 9 confidence points. Appreciate y'all being here tonight. Looks like one more question before we wrap the show and get you guys off of work and over to watch Thursday Night Football. Danzel Barrett, appreciate you being here, brother. Kittle, Gesicki, Cooper, and Jennings need 1 tight end, 1 flex. Kittle is absolutely the starter. There's no questions there. I like Mike Gesicki tonight. I mentioned that earlier. I have a 52.5 receiving yards, and I am taking the higher on that. Cooper would be my play here. The challenge, of course, is that he has, I'm assuming this is Amari Cooper, unless it's Cooper Kupp. And if it's Cooper Kupp, then he's in your lineup. But I'm assuming it's Amari Cooper. He just hasn't practiced. And so to me, that's really challenging. The downside of this question is if you don't play, if Cooper is ruled out and you don't play Gesicki tonight, then you have to play Jennings. And I don't love playing 2 Niners on that team in this game environment, especially with McCaffrey back and especially if Debo plays. So it's a hard question, man, because I don't really want to play 2 tight ends, but give me 1 second and let's just see if there's any news on Amari Cooper that I haven't seen. Yeah, limited again. He's not catching passes. I feel like I'm giving bad advice because it just makes me really uncomfortable, but I think you have to play Gesicki and Kittle just for safety because the last thing that you want to do the last thing that you want to do is, not play Gesicki tonight and then Amari Cooper is ruled out, which is fine. You could pivot to Jennings, but it looks like McCaffrey is going to play. Let's just double check here really quickly. I don't think there's any new reason to expect. Yeah, he's playing. Obviously Debo should play. Yeah, him and Jawan Jennings both limited on Thursday. I think they're both going to play. So I would play Kittle and Gesicki, and you're just hoping that Gesicki gets a touchdown tonight. So Google's Chrome, appreciate the show. Yeah, appreciate y'all being here. If you are not liked and subscribed to the channel, I assume that you are, which is why you're here. But if for some reason you are not, I'll throw the link into the chat right now. But for those listeners that are on Spotify or Patreon who are listening to the show, make sure you jump over to youtube.com/@theextrapointffb. For those that are in the show here, links in the chat. Hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us grow. We'll be back tomorrow night for part 1 and part 2 of our sit starts. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. Appreciate you all being here. Have a great night. We out.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking nothing, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided.